Why can intelligent, intuitive women be deeply qualified, deeply called, and still feel paralyzed when it comes to being seen? Today, we're unpacking the nervous system behind visibility, success, and self-expression, and why forcing yourself may be the very thing disconnecting you from the success you want. I'm so excited to have our special guest, Lauren Pearlingi. She is an intuitive human design business guide, trauma-informed healer, speaker, and creator of the 90-second method, a powerful tool that helps entrepreneurs regulate their emotions in real time so that they can make clear, aligned decisions in life and business. She works with sensitive, intuitive entrepreneurs who are tired of forcing strategies that leave them burnt out and disconnected. Through a blend of human design, nervous system awareness, intuitive guidance, Lauren helps her clients understand how they are uniquely wired so they can build a business that feels safe, sustainable, and deeply aligned. Before stepping into her purpose-driven work, Lauren spent nearly 10 years in the medical field as an ultrasound technician, where she witnessed firsthand the impact of stress, burnout, and emotional suppression. That experience now deeply informs her work, allowing her to guide others through both the energetic and practical sides of growth. Lauren is the host of a wonderful podcast called the Enlightened Misfits Podcast, and she is the founder of The Mermaid Light, where she creates space for women to heal, express their truth, and step into visibility without fear or burnout. Welcome, welcome, Lauren.
Wow. It's always, I know that I told that's the intro that I sent, but I'm like listening to it. I'm like, who's that?
Yes, who is this lady? Tell our listener, who is this beautiful, magical, energetic healer?
Yeah.
How would you define yourself then, Lauren? Or how do you see your progression? If you could let us look at you through your own lens.
I feel like, to be honest, I mean, obviously I always say I hate when people say that, and I literally say that. But honestly, I feel like I see myself more and more each day closer to that of I feel like that's kind of not the end game of what I see, but it's that's where I'm becoming. That's the word. That's who I'm becoming every day. And it's not that I'm not that person now, but it's there is some things that I still have to, uncover and step into to be that person. Yeah.
I love that. I mean, becoming is one of my favorite words, but I think that exactly what you speak to, we're all in this journey of growth and evolution over a lifetime. So I love that we get to witness and see your transitions. And tell us why is a shift meaningful for you to integrate more intuition and energetics into a person's journey of either their healing or their creation of their life, their business, whatever it may be on the outside, but this kind of undercurrent that you teach and you use and you believe in?
I think it's, in a very short way, authenticity, because it's a buzzword that I feel I hear about oh, you have to be authentic. And when I hear that, I know what that means. But somebody that's coming on this journey of I just went through a spiritual awakening. Maybe they just got out of their I'm going to say near-death experience, their dark night of the soul. And maybe they don't know where to go. And I think that kind of helping women, men, whoever, I mainly work with women, but I have had clients that were men. Gender does not matter. It's just all energetics. But help them, they're burnt out, and it's not coming from a place of they're telling me, oh yeah, Lauren, I'm burnt out, I'm disconnected. It's what they're telling me that I'm oh, I see this. This is what's happening. This is what you want. And this is the emotion in real time. And I think that is really not clear. And even it's true for me too. Sometimes it's not clear for me when I'm going through maybe a challenging time, which is why I feel everybody needs a mentor. Everybody needs somebody that can kind of guide them through the dark. And it's a huge part of behind my brand and why I named my business The Mermaid Light, because I obviously am obsessed with mermaids. When I was a kid, I used to identify as a mermaid, when I was a kid. So it's the light part of being a lighthouse for people. I was always that light in the darkness. And also I needed light in my own darkness. And I think that is where I tie into energetics, and I weave into, whatever tool it could be that they want to use. It could be more like people call it like woo woo, but it's more of like, no, that's just like the mysticism and the imagination or whatever you call it, that unseen part. Because we have the physical part, and it's like, how do we, because like energy, we don't see it, we feel it. Sometimes we can see different things, but it's just kind of like both. And it's like, how can we integrate mind, body, and spirit? I don't think that people realize like mind, body, and spirit is not separate. And it's like, I feel like us are all on a journey of forgiveness and how to understand how we're all not separate. So I think that is like a longer but shorter definition of like why and how I kind of integrate everything together.
No, I think that's so important. And like honestly, like even in this space and like coming from academia, I notice that the safer topics and places for me to go to are always like cognitive. And then like,
Yeah.
okay, emotional is okay, but like it's very uncomfortable for me to bring forward in this more public arena, like
Mhm.
mysticism and
Yeah.
I'll like code it as something else like awe or life, and I'm
Yeah.
like, okay, I need to be just how I encourage everyone else to be their most authentic selves. Like, it's
Yeah.
okay. Just go with the discomfort, Sadie. Talk about, energetics and, divinity and light. And so I really appreciate like guests like you helping this space see and expand into the intangible, the invisible, but and yet I think validate what so many of us know, which is our intuition and like you're saying, the energetics around you that you feel, and knowing that like we're not just these little robots from our neck up or our heart
Right.
up, but where
Yeah.
does our body come into play? And so I wanted to start there, like for people maybe who are like me, who are like maybe we're taught to not always trust their heart or their intuition, or maybe to outsource it to institutional places. And I'm not saying that any of that is like wrong or bad, good or right. I
Yeah.
just wanted to name the experience of it. And for people who are wanting to explore and invite these modalities back into their life, like where's like a easy, safe place for them to start? Is it with the nervous system regulation? Is it with curiosity? Like where would you guide your clients who are in the very beginning of their journey as like the next tangible? How do they start having that relationship with their intuition or with the universe?
That's a good question. And I feel like my answer would be different a couple weeks
Mm.
ago. And I feel like for me, when I look back at my journey, like if like what did I do that I felt like I wish I would have had that I didn't have? And I think it's nervous system regulation, but and also like belief system. And the reason why I say both is because, you know, if you can't get to a feeling, or you can't understand your emotions, or you can't, like, you don't know where it's coming from your body, that isn't going to be powerful enough to like what's going on. So it's like, okay, so like tell me, because you can talk, like tell me what your beliefs, like what do you believe about yourself, or what was told for you to believe, or like just kind of starting there to kind of understand like where they are, and then incorporating different tools if they trust and believe different systems, or like whatever it is, to kind of help them understand, well, this is what this system says, and this is a tool that you can use to help with your intuition, or what is the emotion behind the story that you're telling you? Like, so I think weaving both of them together, I think would probably be the best way to start. But you can't start at the nervous system, because your nervous system is probably overworked, you're probably burnt out, you don't trust yourself, like there's so many different avenues of that you're like, I'm not going to do this because it's too hard. And I think that when you start at what are you like, the stories you're telling yourself is like a really powerful place, because then you can kind of see, oh, like, is that true? No, it's not true, it's just what I was told. Okay, so like, just like anything is like, we are what we say to ourselves. We are what we or around. We are what we eat. We like all of those things. It's true, because the universe only has a very short vocabulary. Whatever you think and feel is literally how your reality is going to you're going to see your reality. So if you stop telling yourself a certain thing and start telling yourself something else and you're living it and you feel that way, then your reality is going to be different. And it's like I say, like, so it is like, that's the universe mirroring back to what you're thinking and believing. So if you want different, you have to be and do different. So yeah,
Yeah.
that's my
And I
answer to
love that like
that.
through line, getting to know you more. Like I don't know if like this is how you identify, but the way I see you is that you are very come from a place of a lot of like sovereignty and self-authorship. And I think that's so beautiful. And I think so many women would crave that. Like,
Yeah.
I think women, just want to do good in this world and want to
Mhm.
help their families and their communities. And so they turn outward to try to figure out how do I do that? How
Yeah.
do I, be a good neighbor? How do I help the world? And I think what you invite is a lot of that curiosity with self, even the way that you're just saying right now, like just start with a question. Let's just get to know you. Who are you? And
Yeah.
I think that's such a
Sure.
beautiful entry point into going inward instead of,
Right.
looking for the answers outward.
Yeah, 100%. And I think like thank you for that. Like I feel like for me, I came from a place of like I was told what to do. I had to act a certain way. I had to do this. I had to do that. Like I hated to be told what to do. And I started to become like I was at a place back in 2020 by 2019 that I was like, who am I? Like, I don't even know who I am. I turned into this awful person. I'm just with this another awful person. And it's just like, my mom kept saying to me, like, why do you keep attracting these men that are abusive and they're nasty? And they're just like, you always used to say when you're growing up that you want to become somebody like, be with somebody like your dad. And I said, well, some of it is true because he was emotionally unavailable. My mom controlled him. My mom, like it was, I did. Yeah, sure. My dad didn't abuse me. My dad wasn't, he didn't talk to me nasty, but he also wasn't there for me because he didn't know how to be. And it's
Mhm.
not that I'm blaming my dad, but that's actually who I attracted because that is actually what I was used to. So
Right.
you're right. I did marry somebody, my first marriage, like my dad. Sure, he wasn't like, somebody that like my dad didn't abuse me or I wasn't abused when I was a kid. But, fast forward to when I was a child, I was sexually abused by a family member that I trusted. So that mirrored in every situation in my life, so why not? Like, why wouldn't I do that? Like, that was my question to my mom.
Right.
Why wouldn't I? That's all I ever knew.
Right.
So it was like I then decided because I realized I have the power to choose of what I wanted, what I'm going to do. And
Mhm.
like to this day, I joke with my husband that you can't tell me what to do. And I will do everything possible. If you tell me to do this, I'm doing the complete opposite. Just to show you that you're not telling me what to do. Not that he tells me what to do, but like his suggestions, I'm like, I didn't ask you for that. And it will be like this, like, he knows. He's like, oh, I didn't need to tell you what to do. And I'm like, no, but I'm just saying, like, I didn't ask you for that, just because it
Yeah.
runs so deep and I don't want to project that. But at the same
Yeah.
time, I usually say thank you, but no thank you. Very
Yeah.
nicely. So
Yeah.
I think that when you say that, now that you look like you can see that in me, I feel
Mm.
like the root stems from the way I didn't like how I felt as a kid.
Hmm. Yeah, thank you for sharing your vulnerability. And
Yeah, sure.
I'm sure it will touch so many people who their circumstance might be different, but have experienced neglect or abuse or other traumas in their life. And I think we don't talk about it enough. And so
Hmm.
thank you for helping to normalize that
Sure.
experience. Yeah, and I love the way that you always bring it back to choice. I think that is where our power comes from when we allow
Right.
ourselves the opportunity to choose, even if we choose a no, or even if the choice is invisible. And I think
Yeah.
you have such a beautiful, like, living philosophy and embodiment of that in all of your work and the way that you allow yourself to flow with your seasons, you allow yourself to change, you allow your mentors to change, your belief systems to change. And
Yeah.
yeah, can you tell us a little bit more about like the freedom or the benefits in your life that even though it might be scary to allow yourself the choice, like why is that important for people to do?
The reason why I think it is important for people to do is if I didn't allow myself to not be traditional or stay in my job that I was absolutely literally physically killing me, then like my body couldn't move my arm, like being an ultrasound tech. You have to use your body, and it was every day, and you had to get the numbers, and I did high risk OB at the end of my career. So like I just mentally, physically, emotionally, it was draining to the point that I was so sick that there's times I couldn't even go to work, and I didn't even know any excuse to tell my lead tech of why I can't show up. Like I didn't, it got so bad. And then there were so many different other things that like had happened, like my mental health and not being able to show up for my daughter and like in an extreme custody case, like with my ex-husband and like divorce and all this stuff that like I stayed quiet. And so many other people, like when I actually started opening up, of course, old coworkers, they follow me now and like they look at my life like I wish I had that. And I'm like, why can't you have this?
Right.
I didn't do anything super. Like I'm not Superwoman. I am human, and I just decided one day that I'm not doing that anymore. And I will do everything possible. And it could be because of my resilience it could be because of the choices I made before I came to Earth. Like it could be a lot of different things, but I always tell people I had no idea what was going to happen when I told, the partner, like I did have a little detour. I did get a job in Arizona. I'm in Delaware, so I moved across the country. I was in the middle. My lawyer was like, "What are you doing? Why are you moving when you haven't even got full custody yet? Like you haven't even got, like you're divorced, but you didn't get full custody. Like you can't move. You can't." And I was like, "Well, I asked," and he said, "Okay, so I can move." Anyway, long story short, I had to come. I moved. I got a job out there. I moved, and right before my daughter, I was going to move her out, the courts told me I had to come back to Delaware. And I was like, well, I guess I have to leave my job here. I worked there for a week. They are very familiar with things like this. So I was like, I don't know if I'll be back. I will let you guys know. Long story short, I had to come back. And then the partners that are in Delaware, they said, "Do you want your job back?" And I said, "No." And they were like, "What?" And I was like, "No, I'm not going back to being an ultrasound tech." And my whole family was like, "What are you going to do?" I was like, "I don't know. I could live a little bit off of the money I had from moving, from selling my house in Delaware." Like I just knew I was not going back. And also my job was like, "We want you back." But because of being out, I'm breaking my ankle, the reason why I decided to I should probably back up a little bit. The reason why I decided to move across the country is because I was, again, running away from myself, thinking that if I leave my problems in Delaware, they're not going to follow me in Arizona. And also, I had a lot of time to sit and really think about what I wanted for my life because I broke both ankles and tore ligaments in my foot, so I couldn't walk. So I was out of work anyway.
Wow.
And then so I was on short-term disability. So when I came back, I couldn't even give 2 weeks because it was like a week and a half. So they were already pissed off about that. And then they said, I had to drain all of my personal time to get on to, disability, like short-term disability. So they asked me, they said, "Well, we want you back. Your job, you can still have your job here, but you can't take off for 3 months."
Wow.
And I said, "So what happens if my daughter's sick? I'm a single mom. I can't call out. I'm going to get fired." They said, "Yeah." I said, "Okay." So like after I did kind of think about it, and then like I immediately when they said that, I was like, "Okay, that's a no for me." And then of course, backpedaling, "Well, we could probably think about it." I said, "No, that's a no for me." Like, what? I'm thinking to myself, if I get sick, if I have to go to the doctors, I can't take off. Like, I have to for 3 months. Yeah. Or I think it was like 6 months or whatever. So, yeah. So, like, it was like through those like choices and like understanding that those, like, having to make those decisions, nobody was on my side besides me. And everybody thought I was crazy, and so many people wanted to see me fail. So many people that they wanted to see me fail that I could feel it. Wow. I use that as motivation to not fail. Like even my mom and dad, I know they didn't say it, but I'm telling you, I could feel it in every single ounce of my being that every single person I knew wanted to see me fail. Like,
Wow.
this isn't going to work for her. She's going to fail. She's going to fuck up
Wow.
her life again.
Yeah.
She's a mom. Like, what can she do? Like, how can she
Yeah.
just stay home? How can she do this? And like now, like it's been what, 6 years, almost 7 years. I've been like out of work. I left my job probably. So I guess I was like 2021. So I would say like now, what, 2020, it's 2026. So like 5 years later, they are all still very unhappy. They are all still living paycheck to paycheck. They are all still looking at me like, how did you do it?
Yeah.
And it's kind of like, well, you guys watched my journey. It wasn't easy, but it's like, I can't, but like you, and it's like empowering for them. And I'm like,
Of
use
course.
that to realize
Yeah.
that you might have to have some changes in your life. You might
Right.
have to, stop paying for the subscription that you want there's a lot of things I had to
Right.
sacrifice, right, to
Right.
get where I am today. But I would not. People are like, would you ever? No, I wouldn't change it.
Yeah.
There's a video that I seen, and it's like this song and it's like a door and it's like, would you still walk through that same door with all your trauma, all your lessons? Or would you walk the door that you can change your past? I wouldn't walk through that door. I would turn around because I don't want to change my past. Would I change things I would done? Maybe. Like maybe I wouldn't have,
Yeah.
but then if you're changing things, it wouldn't be what you did, like, so
Right. Of
no, I
course.
mean, I guess
Yeah.
now that I'm saying that, I wouldn't change anything. But I think that's really powerful because I know that there's somebody listening here that wants to change your life, or I'm not telling you to move across the country and uproot your life or quit your job or whatever. What I'm telling you to do is just do things more in alignment to what you want versus what you don't want. And I'm not saying to uproot your stability so you're so unsafe that you're like, what am I doing? Don't do that.
Yeah.
But if you want to do it, I'm also not telling you not to do it. But just again, it comes back to like your intuition. Something, again, you have to believe in something higher than yourself to realize that you're not in control of your life. You're only in control of the decisions and how you feel. Like there's
Mhm.
something else that's controlling your, there's a higher power controlling everything else. So you don't have to worry about doing that. And I think that once I understood and knew that, I think I've known that my whole life. Like I say this to my mom, like through my trauma healing, I remember when she was pregnant, some aspects of her pregnancy. I remember when she gave birth. Like I remember some of that. And I'm not saying that like I remember all of it, but I remember from pictures, I can replay the scene in my head from that picture or like what happened from that picture or a movie or something like that. Cause in reality, that's all that that's all that's happening. It's like we're all living in a different movie, but we all have
Yeah.
the same end goal. And the end goal is to leave Earth, which is, all of us. Like when I say that, people are like, really? Like your end goal is just no, it's to make a impact and purpose, but we all have the same ending. It's not to be
Right.
on this, not to be on this dimension anymore.
Right. Yeah. Oh my gosh. There's so many things I would respond to. Like listening to your story, I'm like, I would think that part of the reason it's empowering to watch you from your past contacts is it seems simple. Like, why, if it was so simple that we could all live the lives we wanted by just deciding, then why don't more of us do it? And I
Right.
think what your journey shows, not only faith, not only purpose, but like your willingness to be uncomfortable, your willingness to be scared, and how much, I forget where, I think maybe like Joe Dispenza or someone that said something like, when the pain outweighs the fear of the unknown is usually when people will finally like venture into the unknown. But what
Yeah.
does that say about the unknown and our fear and how big and scary and powerful it is and how much we'll sacrifice ourselves, abandon ourselves, silence our intuition, silence our desires, not have any desires, God forbid, because
Yeah.
the unknown is so scary. And
Yeah.
I think that like stories like yours and other people where you just face the fear And I mean, it sounds so simple, but obviously
Yeah.
it was really nuanced. It was challenging. And I think
Yeah.
that's the other message of it. It's not like we're saying, oh, follow your heart, follow your spirit, follow your intuition, and everything will be sunshine and rainbows. It's like it's still very much the human experience. You still had to make sacrifices. You still had to face the
Yeah.
haters. You still had to face the doubt. You still had to have the human experience. And what you're found is alignment and peace and growth and all of these things that were for you. And the other part I love about you always is that you make meaning of your circumstances. Like of course through the story shines your faith and shines your purpose. Like even funnily, like even in like, oh, I could tell they wanted me to fall. Like that's my motivation is to like
Yeah.
prove
Yeah.
them wrong. But also like it gave you purpose. It gave you
Yeah.
purpose beyond the fear. Like I'm scared and I'm gonna show the world what I'm made of. It's
Yeah.
like
Yeah.
you found ways to nurture your spirit, your resilience, even in the circumstances. And I just wanted to also highlight that about your story because exactly like you said, I think there are a lot of people who are scared to have that conversation, scared to send that email,
Yeah.
scared to
Yeah.
make that first video. And I just, yeah, wanted to use you and your example to not to simplify it, but like honestly to take the fear out of the fear.
Right. Yeah, sure.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I feel like to preface like what you said too is in the beginning of this, like I kept hearing like say about your one experience. So through all of that, have had 3 near-death experiences, which I think are really important to say because not just because that's the experience, but they taught me something. The reason why I am who I am is because of those. And the reason why I'm so like, I really like am the person like of choice is because through each near death experience that I had, they were all self-inflicted and I feel like that doesn't matter in a sense, but it does because people say, oh, I had a near death experience, but it could have been medical. It could have been, I feel like for me, I feel like I need to say that because I have been in the depths of like, I don't want to do this anymore. I don't want to be here anymore. And when that happened, when I was I declared gone for 3 minutes, I got to choose to come back here. And I think that's really powerful because I think even there's so many people right now committing suicide. And in my mind, I understand it. Like in my body, I understand it. Like I remember it. It's like that cry for help that you never get to ask for. So specifically, I had a client the other day or the other week had said, I've had thoughts like of not being here. But for her to tell me that she had those thoughts, I was so proud of her because I never told anybody about any of that. I just committed the act. And most people that will try to commit suicide or commit suicide will not say anything. And like, I think I'm saying this to say, not to take this down a deep, dark road, but just ask for help. And if you don't know how to ask for help, just say, I don't feel like being here. Like you can just say that. And I just feel like talking to the right person, getting therapy. Obviously, I'm not a therapist. I don't claim to be one. But I think that, just talking to somebody that understands to validate how you feel is enough. And I think that like just saying that, I needed to say that space because if I would have came to my mom and told her how I felt, or I would have come to my friends or my own therapist that I was sent to, like they would have probably checked me into the mental institute and I wouldn't, I didn't feel safe doing that. So somebody was telling me to shut my mouth and just kind of go through what you went through. And like, even when it came to being declared gone for 3 minutes, it felt like a lifetime, but my friend found me and I promised her, like when you take, I know obviously need to go to the ER, but like when you like take me to the hospital, please don't tell me please don't tell them what happened, like what I did, and I just was very clear. Like I was just very open about this on social media. My own mentor is the one, she has a podcast and I was talking about my experience and like my mom even messaged me and said, I listened to your podcast and I was like, oh my God. Like I was so scared even now because I was so scared of the judgment. Like, I do know drugs are a huge epidemic and the last time that I took fentanyl and that's what kind of, it took me out and I didn't know what I was taking. I just had no idea. And no, I'm not an addict, but like I just wanted to numb the pain
Yeah.
because that pain was so deep that I didn't know what to do with it. So instead, now it's like when I feel pain, I get excited. I know this is weird, but I get excited because I'm like, what can I learn from this? Because if I don't get excited, I still have all of that data in me. I could immediately consciously choose to go back to that place because that is still there. That option is still there. You know what I mean?
Right. Oh my gosh. Thank you so much for sharing your story.
Sure.
Oh, it takes so much courage and vulnerability. And you're absolutely right. We need to talk about this so much more. How many people
Yeah.
are like, oh my God, she said what I wish I could say and I can't say it. And
Yeah.
how can I, like get help? And I'm embarrassed or ashamed to get help. And
Yeah.
I actually don't want to get help because I don't want to be alive. Like I'm sure there's so much nuance there.
Yeah.
And I think that, another like broadening or step beyond that is like the escapism of self because it's so painful.
Mhm.
And how does that even show up for everybody from overworking? I always joke that's my favorite addiction. But it's another way to escape, to not have that conversation and not have the mom guilt and not whatever. And it feels good and society rewards it. And so like all of these ways are built into our culture and our society of scrolling on social media or whatever it is, the hustle culture that we
Yeah.
can escape ourselves because it is really freaking painful.
Right.
Painful to be
Yes.
human. It's painful to face ourselves.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. I just had a conversation with, I don't even know how I connected with her, but her story and what happened to her husband really took me back to a place of she asking me about why it happened. And I don't know if she knew my story. I don't know how much she knows about me. I don't know if she listened to my podcast. I have no idea. But she asked me this question and she goes, why did he commit suicide? Why did he decide to take drugs knowing that he will die? And I said, from a place of this just happening, I said, let me get back to you because I had to come from a place of like, what guidance can I give her that is not going to literally be like, cause he chose to. Like, I didn't want to give her that answer, but that was the answer that I wanted to say. But I needed to come from compassion of like, Lauren, what would happen if somebody asked you this? So like, I really kind of sat with it. And, I did ask if I can connect with his, spirit and stuff. And there was a lot of value. I'm not going to say, like what was, they're just very, intimate, things that like he wanted me to say to her. But, basically in different points of it is, people decide to leave. Cause like I could have decided to leave too. I knew I was going to come back because I had to, because like I needed, my daughter was here, this all happened, my daughter was real young, of course that judgment came in. It came in my inbox actually. Well, how could you do this if you had a daughter that was 1.5? And I said, you know what, that guilt, I'm still working through, because I am. And that shame. And that's why I didn't talk about it. And, I don't know how to answer that question, but thank you for that. Because that awareness is there. I don't know how to answer it, and they're like, oh, I didn't mean to. You did, but it's okay. Like that's okay. But anyway, getting back to her, like basically I learned a lot. And the reason why when I was channeling his spirit, I realized that, he chose to teach her a lesson and to still be there, to support, her. And he's not physically there, but he's there spiritually, mentally, emotionally, all of it. Just not physically anymore. And it was because he was blocking her to what she wanted to do and her desires and her dreams and what she chose in this lifetime. And she just wouldn't disconnect from him. And that was his way of her disconnecting. Now she has no choice but to just do it because now they have 4 kids and he's not here anymore. So like from that, I was like, oh my God, like that is a lesson for me too, because it teaches us detachment. And I think that's really powerful because we all have to learn that because we're so attached to things like people, things, places, identities, whatever it is that, we're always here to evolve and, like learn. And I think if we don't do that, that shows up in our life as like a huge hello, you're in my way. I can't move forward, you know? And I think that that was a really powerful thing for me too. Like, I needed to choose if I was going to be here or here. I couldn't have both. And I needed to decide if I'm going to grow or I'm just going to start over. And it's like, you got to choose. And if I didn't choose, I was constantly, kind of like a railroad. You have your foot on both sides of the track, but eventually it goes this way and you can't straddle the track anymore. You have to decide. And that's kind of like the crossroads I was at. It was kind of, in my near, like when I left my body, I seen my grandmother and she was like, it's not your time yet. You need to choose. However, I still could choose to go, but it wasn't my time. It's not what I chose. I would be picking a totally different timeline and God knows where that would take me. It could have been worse then, and I was like, okay. It was kind of like that last lesson because each time it happened, I learned something.
Yeah.
And that's the, in hindsight, yes, it's so a deep, dark, don't talk about it kind of thing. But I feel like the more awareness you talk about it, the more it's, normal because it should be normal. Like it should be like, if you don't want to be here, you can choose not to be here. I feel like nobody should tell you have to. Putting you on medications and making your life more miserable. It's like, no, let the person choose. And I think that that's probably a opinion that a lot of people don't like, but I think that you get to choose and you should choose. So choose. Yeah. But if you're going to choose to stay here, you also need to choose to do the work. That's the important piece,
Yeah, that's exactly what I was going to say. Because I think this conversation is obviously tender and nuanced and probably fragile. And I think that in you saying you get a choice, but it's like, okay, a choice of this whole platter of like, and you can also choose if there are, real neurochemical dysregulations. And I am not a psychiatrist, I'm not a psychologist,
right.
And I don't really can't even speak to this topic with any kind of expertise. So I'm also trying to navigate with some like grace and space that there probably are real, I don't know, genetic, biologic, psychologic disorders that make it difficult for a person to believe they have choice, to see they have choice.
Yeah.
And we're talking about it almost like from this privileged place that like we have awareness and we have choice and we have empowerment. And I'm not even sure that people can even get to there and might see us with a lot of privilege and like to also acknowledge like that we are talking about humans in a very effed up world with a lot of effed up systems that do keep them down and impoverished and lowered and unjust things that probably also make this climb even harder.
Right.
But and so like to bring all of that into here too and say like, it's not that we're saying like things are your fault or that you're attracting like poverty and violence to you either. I think what, just trying to hold space for all of the systems and saying how in the little bits that I can bring myself back into this story, into this choice. Like you're saying, like, yes, medicine is a choice, healing is a choice, leaving is a choice.
Yeah.
And normalizing, like, where is our own stories of society, of religion, etc., creating more shame and more harm by trying to bring light and healing and love to the table by saying what you're saying of like, this is my human experience and it's valid because I'm human and this is my choice and it's valid because it's a choice from a human as well as all these other supportive measures around it.
Yeah.
That
was a good way to Ooh. I definitely like that was a good way of like saying it because what I'm basically to kind of put a little bit on, not to keep talking about this, but we give our power away so much. And if I can just get the listeners or the watchers to understand that don't let anybody tell you you don't have a choice because you do. And the moment that you stand in your own sovereignty and say no, or I'm not doing that, I get it. It can be like messy if you're in, Western medicine world and you have to get these diagnoses and this and that. I'm not talking about that. What I'm talking about is to get out of that and you choose, okay, I want to learn differently. I want to challenge the status quo. I want to not do traditional things and learn more about myself. That's like what I'm talking about.
Yeah.
I'm not, I'm not saying that if you do have those thoughts to not seek help.
Right.
I'm also not saying that either, but it's seek help from somebody you trust. And if you don't trust anybody, that's when you would go to somebody that you would tell them. And I say this to like a mental health, like my own therapist. Because yes, I did have one until talk therapy didn't work. I said the reason why I didn't talk about it is because I was so scared that you guys would put me in a mental hospital. And she goes, if you tell somebody that, they're going to get you help versus send you right there. I was like, I didn't trust you guys. There's so many times I've said something to an official, an authority, and it backfired on me.
Of course.
So like you said about systems, I think at the end of the day, just tell somebody that you trust. If it's a friend, if it's whoever, it could be me, whatever, just, have that conversation to speak it out loud, because maybe you don't even realize what's going on in your head. And if you say it out loud, you're going to be like, all the thoughts that I think about in my head and I say them out loud, I'm like, what is crazy? Because they're not real. They're just thoughts. They're not, they're really not until you make them real.
Right. Yeah. No, I think that's so important. And I think also the conversation brings in these nuances of like, you're talking about the soul's agency and non-attachment, which is beautiful. And also, I don't know, I'm sure we could go down a whole rabbit hole of like destiny versus choice. But regardless of what people believe or want to believe, I think the part that I feel like I've highlighted this so many times about you, you're gonna think I'm a broken record, but like is that part, that beautiful part that you give your choice to make meaning of it. And I'm going to just recycle what we had talked about on the other discussion, but like that same sentiment comes back to me of like that everything happens for a reason. And, bringing it back into this conversation, well, how does violence happen to me for a reason or rape happen to me for a reason? But it's like everything happens and you give it the reason. So like in your story, I feel like because you're so heart-led, because your faith is so strong, because you have allowed your healing journey to deepen you, that you allow yourself that when things happen, you see the agency in it, you see the beauty where it can be seen, or the healing in it, or the compassion for just how things are, maybe not needing to fix it or whatever. But I think that is the strength or the gift that every story you tell that I keep seeing. And just want to give people that hope that no matter what happens or their circumstances, that there are people in the world like you that continue to actively choose the meaning that they're getting from the situation in a way that can support them.
Yeah. And I think that's really powerful too, because it's mindset, because it's coming from like, I had to understand the victim mindset of like, I am a victim versus, like domestic violence or you're a victim. No, I'm not. I chose to go through that experience because I had the opportunity to learn about that experience to choose if I want to continue in that experience or not. And I know that's very sensitive too, and that could be triggering, but I just invite you to think about the opportunity if you were in this situation and you take yourself out as an observer and look at it from both sides, because not going down the rabbit hole of past lives and this life and, parallel timelines and all that stuff, but like everything's happening at the same time. If you're the victim of a situation in this lifetime, you probably were the perpetrator in another. So it's like you have to, again, you come to earth to learn all parts of it. And I think that understanding of like when I'm triggered or when I learn something or, I look at it as like, what opportunity is this showing me? So I can take myself out of that, because we can easily put ourselves into this victim, I'm the martyr of your story or I'm the villain or whatever. But it's like, if you get out of that, I call it a trauma triangle. But if you get out of that triangle, I call it the drama triangle, because it's like literally just drama. You get out of it so quicker because you're the observer. So you're observing, oh, this is why I felt this way. This is why I felt that way. Obviously, it's a practice and it's a continued practice. When I get triggered, I'm like, what opportunity is this trying to teach me? Or what lesson is this trying to teach me? And I have an opportunity to learn. And that's the only way I've ever done it. And I've done it both ways. And that's the only ever way that worked for me. So, I mean, you don't have to take my word for it, but try it. I think it's really empowering.
Yeah, yeah. And I also just want to invite the listeners, like this space is always for contemplation and for each one of us to know ourselves more. So
Yeah.
if I say something and you're like, that girl is whack, or Lauren says something that you totally just don't believe
Yeah.
in, like allow that instead of being right or wrong to just be a compass back to yourself and like,
Right.
oh, okay, that really resonates with me. Then like, yes, let me explore that more. Or like, oh, that really strongly doesn't fit with me, then it's just a beautiful like reorientation of, okay, now I remember exactly who I am today and I'm allowing myself to re-choose it today. And yeah, allowing this space to be for everyone's growth and their own support, their own path. I have been dying to ask you about this 90-second method.
Sure.
What is
Yeah.
it?
Okay. So the 90-second method, I should say, is I won't go too much into it, but it's literally a method that I created probably like, let's say, probably last year when I was at this crossroads of I had all these tools and I couldn't really come to the realization that I would be in the car and I would be triggered and like I would literally have an emotional breakdown. Like get myself to the point, literally to the point that I would have thoughts of like, why am I here? I hate it on earth. Why, all this stuff. And I then was like, I have to feel like I can't wait to do my healing work later. I can't wait to do like somatic solar renewal later. I'm like, I need to figure out something to kind of like create. And when because I have a 90-minute session. And when it's funny because I would be on a call with somebody like on Zoom or like actually like on my free calls that I offer. And I would say, oh yeah, like, and so the session is like 90 seconds. I'd be like, wait, what did I just say? And I was like, wait, no, not 90 seconds. But then I kept like, I was like, oh, this is interesting. This is something, whatever.
Yeah.
So then I was like, one day I was like, I need to create my own method. I was driving to Jersey and I was like, I need to create my own method. So I was like, okay. So like, I'm just kind of getting like downloads and I'm like, oh, 90-second method. Oh, so then I just started to like, I went back on my computer the next day and I was like typing away and I was like, I need to create something quick, easy, and really tangible for people to do. So that's kind of like last year, it was born and I'm kind of going through like this beta cycle of like how I want to teach it and like whatever. And I started teaching it. And so basically what it is it's 3 steps and it's very, very simple. So like the first step is notice. So when you're triggered or when something's happening or when you're getting ready to say something or whatever that's happening, like when you're going through something in real time, when there's big emotions, you use this. So I'll give you an example. So step 1 is notice. So what I was consciously doing without realizing what I was doing is I was trying to fix things. Like my anxiety, I was trying to fix it. Oh God, I felt heavy. I was trying to fix it. Like, and I was like, well, how about if I just notice I'm anxious, like I feel anxious. Okay, great. I feel anxious. Like I'm just naming that. Like no story. And this kind of came up with the somatic soul renewal too. Cause like I've always done really like a lot of somatic work that like I know that I have to feel it in my body. But there was a disconnect from when I did something, the story would always pop in with the emotion. And I'm like, okay, like I'm disconnecting the story. I'm like putting it on the shelf very lovingly, but like I don't care about the story right now. I need to figure out why I feel this way.
Right.
So then through that process, I was like, okay, so like how do I do that? Because the story is going to pop in. Like, oh no, remember you just said you're anxious. The story is going to make it real. So then I'm like, okay, I got to figure out something else. So step 2. So step 1 is I'm like, people are probably like, okay, she's telling me step 1. Now stop talking and say step 2. So step 1 is notice. Step 2 is neutralize, or it's like just breathe. It could be whatever it is. So like it could be feet on the ground. Obviously, if you're driving, you can't put your feet on the ground. Maybe it's like relax your shoulders. Maybe it's just like I need to breathe, and you just breathe in and out just one time. And then just remind yourself in that moment there you're not in danger. I'm not
Mhm.
talking about doing, well, you could do the 90-second method, whatever. But like, I'm talking about if you're in danger, you probably should, like, you should get yourself to safety and then do the 90-second method. But like, we're not in danger.
Right.
It's just a signal to our body. And then the third is re-choose. And this is like the most powerful thing because just like any method or anything that people teach you, you then get to make a decision because you get to choose how you're going to react. Now, I know this took me like 2 minutes to say. It literally happens in under 90 seconds. So, step one, when you do step one, like notice, okay, I'm anxious. Okay, I'm just going to breathe. Step two is just neutralize. And then step three is choose, I'm actually going to decide to not focus on this right now.
Hmm.
Because maybe it was like you're anxious because you have to have a conversation. And like it's literally like, oh, okay, I can do that. And then you repeat that about every situation in your entire life, daily life, real life, that you continue to do those three steps. And like, and you don't really have to understand the science behind it. You don't have to understand anything behind it. You just need to do it. Like people, some of my clients were like, okay, so how does it? I'm like, do not understand. Like it all works. It actually is backed by science. Like
It
I
is,
will make a
yes.
book about that one day,
True.
but
You
it's
should.
literally science. Don't worry about that. Just do it so you can change your life and then worry about how it works.
Yes, I love
So
that.
yeah.
Just nervous system regulation, creating
Yeah. So
space.
yeah, it
I
helps.
love it.
That's a really quick way of like when people don't know how to regulate, I'll tell them do the 90-second method. So just doing that, just breathing, like being able to understand, because then it trains your brain to be like, oh, I'm anxious. Oh, why do I feel so why do I feel so angry right now? Where do I feel it? And it's
Hmm.
not like you're changing it. You're just
Right.
aware. You're making it
Yeah.
aware. You're like
Right.
aware of it so you can move past it. Because if not, you're probably going to get triggered. You're probably going to go say something you don't mean. You're probably going to
Yeah.
go be a mean human. Like you're probably going to do something that like is out of alignment,
Yeah.
regardless of what people say. Like none of us
Yeah.
humans are meant to be mean. It's the
Right.
trauma and the projection that is why we're mean.
Yeah, no, I think it's like
Yeah.
such a necessary tool. And yeah,
Yeah.
I love the ease that you put to it, the steps that you put to it. And you're absolutely right. You're creating space between stimulus and response, and you're
Right.
breaking that limbic
Yeah.
system cycle of like emotion and giving your space to respond instead of react automatically, which is
Yeah.
again, I think the basis of everything we've been talking about with choice and
Yeah.
empowerment. So I
Yeah.
love that. Well, if
Yeah.
people just love you and they want to do a 90-minute session with you and they want to connect with you more, how can they work with you?
Sure. So I will make sure you have my link tree, but you can find me on all social media platforms. Like I'm on Facebook, Instagram, TikTok, YouTube. You can send me a message. You can email me. My inbox is always open. Wouldn't normally say that, but I feel like I need to say that for this conversation. It is always open. Like I can't I can't restrict it. But yeah, so you can type in Lauren Pearlingi or you can type in the Mermaid Light and you'll find me. You can Google my name, you'll find me. Yeah. So do what I recommend is, do a 30-minute call with me, see how we can work together. And I'm really honest. Like I'll give you as much as I can. I might not be the perfect fit for you, but I know so many people that could be. So I'm not going to just get on a call and gaslight you into like, oh yeah, blah, blah, blah. You need this, this, and this. I'll actually tell you what I feel like you would benefit you. And then we can go from there. Like I have free chart readings for human design or astrology, relationship chart readings. But ultimately, the best way to connect with me is to do my free 30-minute call.
Amazing. Thank you so much for your
Sure.
time, for your energy, for your honesty, for your vulnerability. You
Yeah.
are such a light, and we appreciate you shining it on this community of ours. I'm
Yes.
wishing you all play, possibility, and peace, wishing you to feel so supported in this space. And I'm so honored to be a part of your soul tribe. I'm sending you love, and I'll see you next week. Bye.